Hi, welcome back to our podcast, The Blend Effect. I'm Sayli.
And I'm Radhika.
And today we have a very special podcast because we have a guest, Rigved Barve.
Yes. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for being here. And he's here to talk about a very interesting topic.
It's called Exposure to the Indian Arts.
Yeah, Indian classical arts. And so we are going to talk about this because Rigved here is a triple threat. To tabla wazavto, to peti wazavto, and he is also very, very talented as a Hindustani classical singer. So, Rigved, तुला थोडीशी माहिती द्यायची आहे का?
Sure. So, I think my musical background has been a very unique journey. I think it's been a little bit non-traditional from what we normally see around here. So initially, I started learning tabla at the age of 5 at Tabla Niketan from my guru Sri Satish Tare. And then after that, after a few years of playing the tabla, I sort of started looking through the leheras. So there's an app that we use to practice. I think we all know that app. It's called iLehera.
Right.
And so there's a long list of lehra rags that's part of that. So I started looking through the rags, experimenting through the different rags. And that kind of got me interested towards the notes side of things instead of rhythm.
Okay.
And then from there, I kind of moved towards learning vocal.
Okay.
So then for the next few years, I learned both the tabla and vocals. First, I learned from Srimati Anupama Chandratriya in Cupertino. And then after that, I used to learn from Shri Manoj Tamankar in Milpides.
Okay.
And then so after that, then I kind of had a little bit of a break during the COVID periods.
अच्छा.
जेव्हा सगळं online गेलं तेव्हा. And then from thereafter, I decided to keep continuing singing. And then I transitioned to my current guru, who's from Mumbai, Pandit Dr. Raja Kai.
Okay.
So then that was kind of what happened with the transition from tabla to singing. And then so after that, I kind of moved just towards vocal. And then somewhere along the way, I decided to add the harmonium also. My mom used to sing around the house, so I just used to like replicate what she used to sing on the keyboard. And then one day I decided to ask my parents to get me a harmonium. And then that's where I started playing the harmonium. So now I try to keep up all three, but mainly I try to focus on the notes and the vocal.
Wow.
So तू स्वतःच पेटी म्हणजे स्वतःलाच आर यू सेल्फ
Yeah, I'm self-taught on the harmonium.
सो आम्ही काही कार्यक्रम केलेत आणि मी पाहिलंय ऋग्वेदला. माय फर्स्ट इंट्रोडक्शन टू ऋग्वेद वॉज दॅट ही इज अ सिंगर, पण आय हॅड नॉट हर्ड हिम सिंग. द फर्स्ट टाइम आय हॅड सीन हिम वॉज प्लेइंग द पेटी. आणि काय पेटी वाजवतो सो मग नंतर मी घरी गेले त्याच्या आणि मी म्हणाले की मला आता गाणं ऐकायचं आहे आणि आता तबला राहिलाय. आणि यू गाइस शुड नो की ही इज व्हेरी यंग. ही इज अकॉम्प्लिश्ड ऑल ऑफ दिस. हाऊ ओल्ड आर यू?
I'm almost about to turn 20.
Wow.
I was like a little bit older, but even I didn't know he's accomplished all of this by the age of 20. That's pretty impressive.
Yes. So we want to talk a little bit about, kind of, our exposure to the arts, or I would say kind of lack of opportunity in the time that, where kind of Sayli and I grew up versus now things are probably, a little bit different. I guess I can start saying my experience is a little bit different than both of yours. So, I grew up in this small town, just outside of Toronto. And at that time, there was really no exposure to the Indian arts. In fact, I remember being a kid, and at the time, I wanted to either pick up singing or dance. I wasn't sure which one, but, something sort of, either Indian classical singing or maybe Kathak or Bharatanatyam. So there was no opportunity. And so the only opportunity that we had was, I remember when I became, a couple of years older, and there were a few kind of local, Marathi family friends of ours who were either trained in India, and then they started doing, functions at, like Marathi Mandal programs. And then, we would hear them, and, and that was really my like only exposure. And then my sister also wanted to learn. And when she went to grade school, there was this one Kathak teacher who had like moved to Toronto.
तुझी बहीण लहान आहे.
Yes. Yeah. So ती लहान आहे आणि when she went to grade school, तिला पण शिकायची खूप इच्छा होती. आणि त्यावेळेला there was this one teacher जी इंडियातून she had moved to to Toronto with her family. आणि ती म्हणाली की अरे म्हणजे मी कथ्थक शिकलेली आहे आणि म्हणजे आता मी क्लासेस घेते वगैरे. तर my sister was like, yeah, all in. And she was almost 10 at the time. But she's like, नाही, मला शिकायचं आहे. And by that time, I think maybe I felt I was too old or I was already kind of out of it. But then I sort of, didn't like learn in her shadows, I want to say, पण ती जेव्हा अभ्यास करायची किंवा ती जेव्हा practice करायची तेव्हा that was like my only exposure.
Right.
So I think very different from what you both
Totally.
got to do.
I think I'm probably the intermediate between the both of you. But before I talk about my experience, my question to you is, तुझी बहीण जेव्हा शिकत होती तेव्हा ती एक्झाम्स देत होती का कॅज्युअली शिकत होती?
सो पहिल्यांदा ती कॅज्युअली शिकायला लागली आणि मग त्या टीचरनी शी पेअर्ड अप विथ दिस इन्स्टिट्यूट इन इंडिया इन पुणे आणि मग नंतर तिने ऍक्च्युअली तिचं प्रॉपर विशारद वगैरे केलं. And she got her like BFA, her like Bachelor of Fine Arts in Kathak as well. And I mean she was also finishing up her college at the time. But तिने of course नंतर म्हणजे it took like 12, 13, 14 years पण मग तिने केलं नंतर म्हणजे that teacher had that opportunity luckily नंतर परीक्षा द्यायला. But yeah. So,
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So माझा एक्सपिरियन्स थोडासा वेगळा होता. In the sense की the beginning was the same as yours. की आम्ही जिथे राहायचो first, as you know, I was in Michigan, then Carson City, जिथे Indians लोक आणि मग आम्ही सॅक्रामेंटोला मूव्ह झालो आणि I'm talking about 2000s, like early 2000s, 2000. आणि तेव्हा कोणीच नव्हतं. There was nobody there who really taught. आणि एक भरतनाट्यम टीचर असेल पण ती खूप कुठेतरी लांब राहायची आणि it just wasn't realistic. And it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I always wanted to learn Kathak. मला माहिती होतं. मग काही वर्षांनी एक vocalsची टीचर माझ्या आई बाबांना भेटली. तर ते म्हणाले चल सायली तू vocals शिकायला चालू कर. I think it was always my dad's dream that I learned vocals. He didn't want me to dance. Not that he didn't want me to dance, but he had a strong preference for vocals. तर I was like, okay, ठीक आहे. So he would take me very enthusiastically. I would begrudgingly go to this class. I wish की मी थोडं इंटरेस्ट घेऊन शिकले असते कारण ते छान झालं असतं. पण I would probably say that teacher was a lot more casual about it. Yeah, मी राग वगैरे शिकायला चालू केलं, but it was more about teaching us to perform rather than teaching us to learn the content. So आम्ही शिकत होतो, but it was very evident that I wasn't that into it. मग काही वर्षानंतर कॉलेजला गेल्यावर मी सोडून दिलं ते. So I will not say I'm a singer at all. तर मग त्यानंतर अजून काही नाही मिळालं. Then after I actually moved to San Diego, finished, graduated, everything and started my first job, which was residency, तेव्हा I was like, okay, आता थोडे पैसे आलेत स्वतःकडे. तेव्हा मग मी San Diego मध्ये I looked for a Kathak teacher and I met my first Kathak guru, who was Guru Meenal Chakradev. And she's one of the people I'm the closest to even to this day. But yeah, so she was my first guru in 2015. तेव्हापासून मी शिकायला लागले. So I would say my experience was the same as you as a child, where I didn't have any exposure, but I was very blessed and lucky to have met somebody in my adult life. So I actually started my journey in my adult life. And now I moved to the Bay Area and now I'm studying with my guru, Shambhavi Dandi.
Very nice. Did you feel at any point you felt like continuing vocal afterwards?
मला नंतर वाटलं की शिकायला पाहिजे पण like Radhika said, I don't think that there's ever an age where you feel like you're too old to do something. मी आता पण चालू करू शकते वाटलं तर पण कुठेतरी असं आता वाटतं की वेळच नाहीये. ऑलरेडी कथक शिकते आणि बाकी आता मुलगी आहे या सगळ्या गोष्टींमुळे जरा there was a time where I tried to start learning tabla, also from Tabla Niketan, from our friend Ashish. पण I think life just got so busy and but Ashish, if you're watching, I do plan on getting back into it. But that actually brings up a great point before we dive into your exposure is ki you have learned so many different things पण ते एकमेकांना म्हणजे मदत होत असेल.
Yeah, it kind of blends into each other and knowing one kind of helps me in the other one. Because they're also intertwined together. Because basically at the end of the day, all music like
is the same.
Not only Indian, but all types of global music is just notes and rhythm.
Right.
So if you know both of them, like both the aspects of that, then you can think from the perspective of the other side. And so then it kind of helps you kind of get towards more of a complete musical experience. While you're listening also and to appreciate it while you're listening.
Right, this is true.
But also when you're also presenting or practicing or singing.
You would suggest that people should learn at least 2 forms if possible.
If they're interested.
Rigved, kind of, bringing it back a little bit, ata apan mantoy ki, you were, lucky enough to, I guess, learn, all 3 forms, right? So do you think, growing up in the Bay Area versus where, like maybe Sayli and I grew up made that difference?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. I think, like, apart from my personal interest, because I think I don't remember ever having a time where I was, like, not engaged in going to the class. So going to the classes over the weekend was always something that I looked forward to. So apart from looking at just the weekend as a weekend, they were my time for music, to learn music. So apart from my personal interest, I think just having a community where there's so many accomplished artists who have been here for so long, who already have their foundation set here. For not only like teaching but also for concerts. So, like I was very fortunate to be able to listen to a lot of music as I was growing up. And not only on YouTube, because there's only so much that you can listen to online. That immersive experience you don't get on YouTube. It's kind of more of a passive listening thing, where it's kind of going on. And even if you sit down and just watch the video, it's different than watching someone in front of you perform. And so I think for me, growing up, I was able to listen to a lot of different types of Indian music also. Not just vocal, but like sitar, sarangi, sarod, tabla solos, harmonium solos even. And so I think because of that, it really kind of kept inspiring me to keep practicing and keep staying in the music. Which is, I think it's possible in other places if you have the passion. But it's much harder because when you need that push, if there's nobody to give you that little spark of inspiration, then it kind of starts falling towards the back.
मला असं पण वाटतं की जेव्हा आपण खूप लहान असतो आणि वी आर इंट्रोड्यूस्ड टू समथिंग लाईक यू वर इंट्रोड्यूस्ड ॲट द एज ऑफ 5, राईट? तर काइंड ऑफ ऑटोमॅटिकली आधी होऊन जातं ते. आणि आपण लहान असताना आपली मेमरी खूप शार्प असते आणि आपली लाईक वर स्पंज ॲट दॅट यंगर एज, राईट? I will say as an adult student, it's a little bit harder for me to remember what I'm doing. I definitely see myself having struggling to remember in the next class what we're doing. Practice करत असू तरी सुद्धा खूप वेळा असं विचार करायला लागतो, वेळेस लहानपणी होऊन जायचं, राईट? So I don't know. I felt like that might be making a little bit of difference.
And time पण तेव्हा खूप म्हणजे there's not much other things. And so doing something like music is a great way to channel the energy. And थोडी like even if you practice like a few minutes every day, it feels like you did something fulfilling.
Right.
At the same time, it's not boring. So at the same time, you're having fun, but you're working towards something. So it's not like total waste of time. It's towards something.
तो एका आठवड्यामध्ये किती वेळा एक क्लास असायचा? म्हणजे आता फॉर कथक आहे ॲज अन अडल्ट आय हॅव क्लास 1 hour once a week. जे इंडियामध्ये जे लोक शिकले दे फिनिश सो मच फास्टर बिकॉज दे हॅड मल्टिपल क्लासेस.
I had 1 class a week.
Okay.
And then there was like breaks in between. And I think that model is good. It has its like good sides, but it also has its drawbacks. I think the good side to that is that you get time to digest the material throughout the week. You get to like think about it, do your own, add your own stuff to whatever you're learning. But then the drawback is again throughout the week things fall things fall apart sometimes.
कधी नाही वेळ मिळाला मग विसरायला पडतं.
Correct. But if you're having like more frequent classes, you're more motivated to do something before then. So it has its both benefits and drawbacks.
मला ना एक खूप कौतुक वाटतं ऋग्वेद, की म्हणजे आता मी आणि सायली बरेच वेळा या विषयावरती बोललेलो आहोत. आय थिंक ऑल ऑफ अस ग्रो अप इन सिमिलर शूज, राईट? बीइंग बोर्न अँड ब्रॉट अप हिअर, चिल्ड्रन ऑफ आय मीन इमिग्रंट पेरेंट्स. तर मला खूप एक कौतुक वाटतं की तू आता म्हणजे मराठी इतका सुंदर बोलतोस, शिवाय तू पेटी वाजवतोस, तबला वाजवतोस, उत्तम गातोस. तर आय वॉज वॉन्डरिंग की तुझ्या पेरेंट्सनी काय असं, डू यू थिंक दॅट दे डिड समथिंग डिफरंट? And I mean, not just to like get you interested in the arts, but keeping you connected, I think, to our culture, which I think probably, has been an extension of your interest in the arts too.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of things definitely to that. I think first one was that almost every summer, minimum, at least once a year, I used to go to India. Spend a good chunk of time in India, like a couple weeks at least, minimum 3, 4, 5. Something like that, not a few days. So that I think that was one of the main reasons, because in India once you go, it's just a full immersive experience. So there's no part of being American once.
I mean there is, but you just gotta
kind of blend. You have to blend in. Right? So I think that was the first thing. Second thing was that at home, like while I was growing up, my grandparents used to live with us. So I think I had the culture in the house.
Aji azoba.
Correct.
त्याचा खूप फरक पडणार.
That was I think that was the second thing. And then the third thing was my parents themselves they made it a point to teach me how to read, write, and speak.
In Marathi.
In Marathi,
Wow,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
And they kind of pushed me to practice writing and reading.
Right.
Speaking was always just like a second
बरोबर.
second nature, right? Like सगळं घरात मराठीच सगळं सुरू असायचं. So there was never any introduction of English in the house.
Yeah.
If a word here and there comes, that's normal. But like other than that, main mode of talking was Marathi.
Yeah.
So I think a combination of these three things kind of helped me just retain the Marathi.
Okay.
I think that's a better way to put it. Retain
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then did you find that because your parents, maybe because they taught you to read and write, has that helped you in your journey when you later learned tabla?
Oh yeah, of course. Because there's some of these bowls, it's hard to write in English.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Like because and it's like sometimes the words themselves, like the lyrics, especially for singing.
Yeah.
Like काय शब्द मराठीतच लिहिलेले आहेत.
Yes.
रळ कसं लिहिणार?
नाही मला ऍक्च्युली हसू येतं यू आज दिस क्वेश्चन कारण आज सकाळीच आय वॉज गोइंग थ्रू माय ओल्ड नोटबुक आणि समथिंग ॲज सिम्पल ॲज अ बोल म्हणजे कतीट कतीट इंग्लिशमध्ये लिहिलं होतं मी पण विच त आणि त आहे का ट आहे विच टी इज तर त्याच्या बाजूला मी मराठीत लिहिलं होतं कारण आय वॉज लाईक हे काय
So definitely I think that's why it helps. You can do the proper notation. And also some of the books, like the books that have, so there was a big musicologist named Vishnu Narayan Bhatkhande Panditji. He has a big compilation of like more than 5,000 bandishes in a series of books. And so but all of them are in Devanagari. So if you have trouble reading them, automatically you're gated to that whole expanse of bandishes. So then your knowledge base became limited.
Right, okay. That is true.
That's also another.
That's true.
And I definitely do see myself again being an intermediate somewhere there. कारण मराठी वाचता येतं, but unfortunately at the time that I was growing up in the resources that I had available, I didn't learn early enough to be like, oh yeah, वाचलं. You know?
Yeah, right. आपल्याला खूप वेळ
जरा motion sickness होतो वाचता.
Yeah.
So, but it is true. It does. I agree.
Right.
मग आता आम्हाला सांग की असं काही इन्सिडेंट घडलाय का जो मे बी फनी असेल इन युअर जर्नी ऑफ लर्निंग म्युझिक वेअर समथिंग हॅपन्ड अँड इट वॉज जस्ट humorous.
Right. I think I can like quickly off the top of my head I can think of two things. First of all, I think when I used to learn tabla, it used to be a group class. So there used to be like 10-15 people. And we like Satish used to ask all of us to recite the whatever we were learning. And of course all of us were born here. And so everyone used to like the dha, instead of saying dha, everyone used to say da.
Da din da.
And then there was a couple of us that used to say it with the proper accent. But in the whole sea of other people saying it in the American accent, that used to drown out. So the main sound that used to be heard was da din. So like, and it was really funny because in the moment you don't really think about it. You're focused on what you're saying. Sometimes like we used to record the classes audio record. When you go home and listen to it, it sounds really funny.
I was like, was it da din or was it dad din?
No, it was a mix. That's one variations that kai da
kai da and kai da.
So I think that was one instance, and then another one was there was a bandish we were learning in Rak Patadip. The word was Baje Muraliya, not the bhajan. It was a bandish, Baje Muraliya. And so in that the word baje, some again all of us were from here. So some of us used to say baji, like that. And so they were I think I believe they were South Indian. And so for them that baji was the batatachi bhaji. And so they were very used to saying baji like baji.
आणि आपल्याला अर्थ माहिती नसतो त्या वयात. आपण आपल्याला जो शब्द माहिती तो आपण इन्सर्ट करायचो.
Correct. So I think that was another half of us were saying baji, and the other half were saying baji.
That's But I think, Sayli, that is the point of this, right? It's like this sort of coming together, our podcast is exactly right, this like blend of both cultures and having to navigate even through like the arts when you're learning about these things. I mean, we have to navigate every day in different aspects of our lives, right? As we're kind of dealing with this blend.
I think it's the experiences, right? So we did have different experiences than somebody in India has. For example, in my class, kind of along the lines of what you're saying, माझे जे सगळे classmates आहेत ते maybe 2-3 सोडले तर everybody is from India, right? आणि सगळे मोठे आहेत तसं पाहिलं तर त्यामुळे त्यांचं मराठी किंवा देवनागरी वाचणं हे सगळं ऑब्व्हियसली खूप चांगलं आहे. तर there's many times where there will be some तोडे that we're learning. Say there's a तोडा that we're learning, आणि त्याच्यात आता या बऱ्यापैकी ॲडव्हान्स लेवलला काहीतरी बोल असतात त्याचे, आणि everybody just looks at it once and they're just like, yeah, झालं, जमलं, and they're like reciting it in class, and I'm sitting there going like, I need at least 2 weeks to get my tongue to go that way, कारण it's a tongue twister for me. माझी जीभ तशी वळतच
Right.
so that is an experience that is interesting. So our next question is, and we've talked about this before, where it kind of seems like artists here are not taken as seriously as maybe artists who have been sort of groomed in India. But yeah, I think that what we'll do is we'll go ahead, just in the interest of the time, we will cut it here for this part. But this is only part 1. We will continue this question and this topic in part 2.
Yes.
Which will be broadcasted next week.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
Yes. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe. Send us your comments, and we'll see you guys for part 2.
Next week.
Yes.
All right, Rigved, don't go anywhere. We're going to continue right now. Do you feel like artists from North America are not taken as seriously as artists from India?
Approaching Indian music, I think there's 3 groups of people that I can think of, and I think these like 3 together combined kind of generates an atmosphere where you kind of don't feel like sharing too much about your Indian music, because you know that they're not going to be able to appreciate it. And there was this girl in my class who used to dance. She did Bharatnatyam. So she suggested that let's do this Indian piece. So we did it. It was a tarana called Tom Tare Kita. But then there were some people who made fun of it.